The Myth About EELAM by Professor Maddumabandara. 1. When did the Tamil politicians start asking for EELAM? As far back as 1920 they were already getting ready to obtain EELAM. They applied to the Solveri Commission, who had Supreme Court judges look into the case for a separate Tamil homeland. This was rejected by the British. What are the grievances of the Tamil people? This question has been raised again and again, and the only answer has been a request for a separate land. Now the Tamils do not even talk about grievances. Everyone talks about the aspirations of the Tamil people. What about the aspirations of the Sinhalese people? No one seems to care. 2. Did Jaffna have a low quality of life after independence? In the early 1980s, James Grant, who was with the Overseas Development Council in USA, tried to develop an index that would be the measure of a country's quality of life. He called it the Physical Quality of Life Index, PQL. This was composed of 3 numbers, which are available from UN statistics: infant mortality, life expectancy, and literacy. He found that Sri Lanka, which had a very low per capita income, was very high on PQL, while countries such as Brazil, which had a high per capita index, were low on PQL. In fact, Sri Lanka was higher than the USA and some of the developed countries. This study was then extended to the different provinces in the island. Jaffna had the highest PQL, not Colombo, yet Jaffna had the highest suicide rate too. This is indicative of a predisposition among Tamil youth to commit suicide, for whatever reason, which is being used by LTTE for their cause. 3. Why EELAM? The Tamil people have various problems stemming from caste and also from their traditions, which impose tremendous burdens among their people. From South India, they have migrated to different parts of the world. In fact, they think that they have a problem with North India too, in that they do not want home rule from Delhi. As a result, they feel they do not have a country in spite of the fact that the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu is theirs. They try to equate themselves to the Jewish people who did not have a homeland and as a result were scattered through the world. Unlike the Jews, the Tamils have a homeland in South India in Tamil Nadu. The entire southern subcontinent of India is virtually Tamil, and they are free to travel within India itself, like any other Indian. However, instead of developing their homeland, they sought to travel to other countries and establish Tamil ghettos, and then try to create separate states in these countries. It is estimated that there are at least 40 million Tamils currently scattered through the world. The hidden plan is to create Dravidastan, a Tamil nation spanning Malaysia, Singapore, and Sri Lanka. This was unveiled by a number of sources, among them Dr. Robert Carney of Syracuse University, USA. For various reasons, the Tamils are very divided among themselves. They created the myth of the Tamil EELAM in Sri Lanka to unify and give them a focus and a reason for their existence. 4. Why was Sri Lanka chosen to be the venue of the Tamil EELAM? Tamil Nadu is separated from Sri Lanka only by 20 miles of sea. The northern part of Sri Lanka is already occupied by Tamils only. All the Sinhalese and Muslims who had businesses, were fishermen, or bakers, were either killed or harassed by Tamils until they left the area. However, to date Tamils live in the south among the majority Sinhalese. In fact, it is estimated that over 45% of the total Tamil population live among Sinhala people. They have businesses, which are patronized by the Sinhalese and others. After the British left Sri Lanka, the trade and commerce in the country has been in the hands of the Tamils. The Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce is comprised mainly of Tamil people. Sri Lanka has always been eyed by the Tamils from time immemorial as being the prized jewel. It is mostly lush and green compared to some parts of Tamil Nadu. It is in fact likened to Kerala, which is in South India. Sri Lanka is occupied in majority by the Sinhalese, who because of the Buddhist traditions are very tolerant and easygoing, ready to relinquish material things due to the strong consciousness of anexa or impermanence. On the other hand, the majority of Tamils seem to believe in grasping and getting whatever they can get by whatever means. Most of them seem to have no sense of ethics or morality in their actions. A good example of Sinhala tolerance is the fact that though the Tamils are almost 35% in Malaysia, they have very little rights compared to the 18%, probably less now, Tamils who are in Sri Lanka. In Malaysia, at a very early stage, the Malays created the Bumiputra laws which protected the indigenous Malays from the migrant Tamils. 5. How was the whole myth orchestrated? In the 1950s there was a resurgence of Sinhalese national pride. This was natural after 500 years of foreign domination. At the time of independence in 1948, Tamils held dominant positions in administration, business, and trade due to the British policy of divide and rule. The Tamils then created a master plan to take over Sri Lanka and overrun it with the starving millions from Tamil Nadu. In the 1980s, the police became aware of the small terrorist group that had developed in northern Sri Lanka, headed by Velupilla Prabhakaran. They brought it to the notice of the then President J.R. Jayawardena, who, being a typical Buddhist, did not wish to harm or imprison members of a minority community. He felt that in a democracy all people were entitled to differences of opinions and as such should be allowed to exist. He hoped that the people would resolve their differences in a democratic manner. So, unfortunately, the Tamil terrorists were released and they orchestrated their master plan, which worked very well for them. The plan was as follows. A. Have sniper attacks on army personnel in Jaffna. B. Sinhalese are volatile and would react when the bodies of soldiers were brought to Colombo. C. As planned, in July 1983, Sinhalese gangs in their typical emotional frenzy started attacking Tamils in the capital, Colombo. The Tamils were ready with the video cameras and caught all the action on videotape and had them showing on the Western news channels within a few hours. D. There was an outpouring of world sympathy for the Tamils who have no home and no place to go, whither Tamil Nadu, Canada, Australia, and Germany, and many other nations opened their doors for Tamil people to pour in. Very few went to Tamil Nadu. Why? All the educated Tamils were ready with their passports, money, and within hours plane loads took off to the above-mentioned countries. There they were given refugee status and given accommodation, money, and help to find jobs by the respective governments. E. As soon as they were able, they started collecting funds and sending it back to the terrorists in Sri Lanka, which enabled them to buy armaments and sophisticated weapons. F. Now the righteous anger of all Tamils abroad was ignited and their traditionally tight purse strings were loosened to send funds for the cause. What the cause is no one bothered to look too carefully. G. No one asked the question why send the money to create a war and fight the Sinhalese to create a Tamil EELAM when there was a homeland in Tamil Nadu. Many millions of dollars were raised for the Tamil war effort. Imagine what that money could have done for the suffering masses of Tamils in South India and Sri Lanka. It could have developed the entire south of India and the Tamils of Sri Lanka. Instead they chose to fight and obtain by force, cheat and deceive the land from Sinhalese. H. Their plan was helped by the geopolitics of the region. In 1977, during the time of the Cold War, J.R. Jayawardena aligned himself with the USA hoping for assistance and free trade. The U.S. was eyeing the Trincomalee Harbor, which being the deepest natural harbor in the world would have been perfect for the 7th Fleet. From the Trincomalee Harbor, U.S. could reach the soft underbelly of Russia with the ICBMs. Russia got very nervous and being aligned with India requested India to pressure Sri Lanka. India armed and trained the Tamil terrorists who were then let loose on the country. They also allowed training camps in South India. This went on until Rajiv Gandhi was killed by the LTTE. Then India opened its eyes and realized that they had created a monster. By then it was too late. 6. The myth that Prabhakaran is the leader of the Tamil people. Prabhakaran, who started life as a low-caste fisherman in the north of Sri Lanka, Velveticherai, has gone a long way by the simple expedient of killing everyone who stood in his path by using homemade bombs. He has killed the cream of the Sinhalese leadership such as Lalit Athilath Mudali, Gamini Dasanayaki, Premadasa, Ranjan Wijaratne, Army and Navy top brass plus the leaders in India such as Rajiv Gandhi. He has also killed the leaders among the Tamil people such as Major Anandaraja, Plote leaders, and Neelan Tirachelvam etc., etc. The list is endless. As a result, the Tamil people have been left leaderless and Prabhakaran has appointed himself as the leader. No one has done a referendum to see if LTTE do get the north and the east as EELAM. How many Tamils will want to live under him in the north and the east? The 45% of Tamils who are now living in the south, will they leave their property and business and move to the north and east? Therefore, who is going to fill the EELAM? He will have to import the starving millions from South India. It is a little known fact that Prabhakaran has become a Catholic to get the church backing for his cause. He is, however, not the real brains behind the whole movement. It is people like A.J. Wilson, Professor Eliezer, and Karunanidhi, Chief Minister in South India, and others of their ilk scattered throughout the world. It is sad that A.J. Wilson, Professor Eliezer received their free education in Sri Lanka paid by the blood and sweat of the poor Sinhalese farmers and then turned traitor to the country of their birth. 7. Who supports the LTTE? LTTE have been able to generate large sums of money for their cause. This is because the so-called innocent Tamils who live and earn their living off the Sinhalese in the south sent money to LTTE. Also, many Sri Lankan Tamil doctors who received their free education in Sri Lanka are now contributing millions so that the LTTE can destroy the country. Every time a bomb goes off killing innocent people, each and everyone who has contributed money for the cause are accessories to murder. They are also receiving support from UK and Norway governments and to a lesser extent from Canada. 8. What can Sri Lanka do to combat this menace? A. Our leadership must realize that LTTE cannot be negotiated with. They have proven again and again their treachery. The goal of achieving what they want is the only thing that matters, not the means. There should be no negotiations with terrorists. B. Terrorism has to be stamped out by force. It may mean promulgating tough laws, which allow the state to take over the assets and property of anyone involved in terrorist activities, including property of their family members. Anyone contributing money to LTTE and assisting them in any way must be considered a traitor to Sri Lanka. Automatic death penalty should be instituted for anyone caught involved in terrorism. C. The Sri Lanka government cannot handle this problem on their own. The central government of India has to get involved. They have to crack down hard on the South Indian politicians who aid and abet the terrorists. To date, the 20 who were arrested for the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi have gone unpunished. Sri Lanka government will have to obtain help from China, Russia, and USA in applying pressure on the Indian government to crack down on the South Indian bases, which supply the LTTE. D. The Sri Lanka government will have to expose what is going on to the world and create world opinions so that the truth is made known to the whole world. All the Western countries, which harbor the masterminds and help finance the LTTE operations, have to be closed down. The Western governments will do that only when it is in their self-interest. The Western governments have to realize that the LTTE operations include gun running, drug smuggling, which are deleterious to their own well-being in the West. E. Sri Lanka may have to consider conscription, and arming the Sinhala villagers in the east and northeast so those entire villages will not be massacred as was done by the LTTE in the last few years. In the past 16 years, the LTTE have massacred 617 Sinhala persons in 26 villages, including 30 Buddhist monks. Furthermore, 1,337 Sinhalese persons have been injured or gone missing. Even the Muslim community in the Ampara district has suffered 11 attacks with the 540 persons murdered. This excludes the other bombings in Colombo, the army massacres of thousands of soldiers and damage to property running to billions of rupees. We will also have to boost the navy and surveillance of the seas off Sri Lanka to maximum capacity. 9. Conclusion. I believe that there are laws of Dharma that operate in this universe. Dhammo Bhave Rakati Dhamma Shari. Those who live by the Dharma are protected by the Dharma. However clever and strong Prabhakaran and his cohorts appear to be, finally in the end I believe he will meet the same fate that Hitler did. At the height of Hitler's power it looked as if he was invincible. Yet in the end he died by his own hand. The Sinhalese are fighting a just battle, and that is our saving. The Sinhalese have always been willing to share what they have and live in harmony with all the people, be they Tamil, Muslims, Burghers, or Malays. In turn, the minorities will have to accept that the Sinhalese are the majority race and learn to live with them, or else depart to whatever their homeland might be. This is so in every democratic country in the world. May 16, 2000. This article may be republished in whole without modifications. See Sinhaya. Professor Maddumabandara.